Welcome back for the fourth incarnation of Clifton Camera's Week in Review. We're starting to hit our stride with these weekly videos, and we were lucky enough to bump into one of our handful of followers at the photography show. Thank you for stopping to talk to us. It was very encouraging, and we appreciate your feedback. If there's something you think we could be doing better, be sure to leave us a note in the comments. On today's agenda, we recap our experience of the photography show. We're going to discuss drone do's and don'ts. Andy has a suggestion for us if we don't want to worry about drone do's and don'ts. We're going to move into discussing social media for photographers and content creators. Is it helpful? Is it a hindrance? Should you be using it, or does it matter? And then we're going to move on, and Andy's going to tell us about something we're working on with Canon, and he's also going to lead us out with the weekly promotions. Just a brief mention before we get started. We have the Clifton Camera's Spring Photo Competition is on right now. If you feel like you want to win a £30 gift voucher and a high-res print of your winning photo, feel free to upload your favorite photo of spring to either Instagram or Facebook with the hashtag Clifton Spring Photo Comp. And we'll pick a winner the first week of March and be in touch. The second thing... Oh, yeah, April, got it. Also, we are currently raising money for the Grand Appeal. This charity supports the Bristol Children's Hospital and thousands of children and families that have and are battling life-threatening illnesses every year. We'll include a link to donate via our Just Giving page on behalf of our Three Peaks Challenge team in the description. And that's about it. Let's get started.
So, as Matt mentioned, we're just going to do a quick recap on what happened at TPS. Now, as I mentioned last week, if you watched last week's video, I didn't go to TPS because apparently I have to hold the fort.
Yep. He has the talent in the office.
Somebody's going to do it.
Yeah. So,
guys, what did I miss?
I think for me, the real benefit of being at the photography show, and because we were there on business, we didn't get to do so much of this.
Yeah.
But I think it's all about going to see people speak.
Yeah.
And then, they'll tell you how they do what they do, and it's usually never focused on what the gear is either. It's usually all about storytelling or how to, create your own sort of style and just getting out and actually doing. But then, you have this whole other side of the photography show, which was what we sort of concern ourselves with, which is the gear. Yeah. And I think there's kind of a big chasm between those two things, because a lot of people can get caught up in just looking at the numbers. How many megapixels does a camera have? Yeah. What can it do? But if you're not actually going to get out there and shoot a photograph, it doesn't really matter how many megapixels the camera's got. No. So I think having those speakers there really helps bridge the gap, and I think people go, and I think they should come away probably, pretty inspired, really. Yeah. Because there's some huge names there as well in terms of, photographers and stuff. Miles Aldridge was there, I think, on the Tuesday, which we sort of missed, and he would have been talking on the, on the super stage. And they had Amy Vitale. She's a National Geo photographer.
Thomas Eaton, I really wish I'd seen him.
That's right. You wanted to see him, didn't you?
Yeah. He was not there on the day.
Yeah. So I think, I think overall it was pretty good. We had to wander around. We saw some new stuff, but
I think what I learned was that if you actually want to go down there to talk to the ambassadors, don't go on the Monday. We figured that we'd go on a Monday and it'd be less busy and we'd be able to get all these talks in, and actually it turns out those are the Monday and the Tuesdays are actually the more serious days, I think they were saying, weren't they? So that's when you actually get the people who go down there who are really interested in buying. Even though it wasn't as busy as it normally would be, everyone was just taken. Any customer who was there was just taken up all the time, and it was just, it was impossible to get to actually speak to anyone.
Yeah. So we went there on business, but not a whole lot of business actually got done.
They're the best sort of business trips, though.
Yeah. So, there you go.
It was a good day, though. It was a good fun day. It was a great atmosphere there. And
it was. I think there's a blog post about it on the website, and we did make a video, didn't we, about what we saw on the day and experienced. So if you guys are interested in that, you guys can check that out for more of our thoughts on the photography show.
Awesome.
I want to talk about drones. I want to talk about drone do's and don'ts, because a day no longer goes by where we don't talk about drones.
Every day.
A day rarely
Especially
goes by
lately.
these days where Andy's not flying one in the office, let alone over my head. It's just, everybody's got one. They're a consumer level product these days, and people use them, across all types of platforms.
Yeah.
I'm sure one of your friends has one. What I want to know is what should potential buyers be aware of before purchasing drones? Because I think we're starting to see a lot of people are getting into trouble with these things now.
Yeah.
So I guess the real question is, if I'm a new drone user, where can I and can't I fly a drone?
Okay, well, one thing that I do notice from, like you say, someone that's got a drone.
Yeah.
So I know a few friends of mine have recently bought, well, I say recently, it was a good 6 months ago, but they bought a Mavic, and the first thing they did was take off in their garden.
Right.
Now, that may seem like a really safe place to do it, but actually you're breaking 3 CAA, so basically official guidelines, immediately. But the thing is, though, if you weren't made aware of these guidelines, you're obviously not going to be, and you're not going to be aware of it, are you?
Right.
Oh.
So Ben's got some actual specific information in regards to just a couple of guidelines that you need to really think about before you actually start flying.
Well, the main one when you're starting out is VLOS, which is visual line of sight, I believe. So basically be in a position where you can always actually keep an eye on the drone and actually have it within sight of you. You shouldn't be flying any closer than 50 meters close to people or structures.
Cool.
Yeah.
Was that 15?
50.
50.
Yeah.
Okay.
150 meters away from crowds and built up areas. So you shouldn't be flying any closer than that, and you shouldn't be flying above 400 feet. So, because there's been a lot of stuff in there about people flying way too much up into flight paths, and you're putting so many people at risk by doing that sort of thing. That can go wrong very, very quickly. So, and also stay away from airports, airfields, that sort of thing.
Most consumer drones with the 400 feet to 120 meters, for anyone else that understands that a little bit better, most consumer drones now have that, what they call a geofence ceiling.
Yeah.
So it won't actually allow you to fly any higher than that. However, being the kind of technical guy that I am, it's not that difficult to turn off.
Right, okay.
So,
you can actually turn it off?
You can actually turn it off.
Okay.
A lot of them allow something called an SDK,
Right.
which is a source development. I can't remember what it stands for now, it's completely gone. But
you shouldn't be doing that
you
anyway.
shouldn't be doing that anyway. The moment you do that, if anyone is thinking of doing that, that's your warranty gone, that's your cover gone. That's literally, if you were to cause any form of damage, you're looking at a minimum of £3,000 fine. If you are a registered pilot, you are going to get your license revoked, and quite a few other penalties as well. So it's just not the greatest of ideas.
Right.
So, are you guys aware? This is a question for, I guess, people on the other side of the camera and as well as you guys.
Yes.
But are you guys aware that there's this new drone bill coming to effect in April?
Until you mentioned it earlier, I wasn't. And
No.
when I was having a look through a lot of what it was saying, and a lot of it was what I assumed was law anyway. Because I think after talking to you were saying that actually these were kind of guidelines, it was common sense guidelines. But now that's actually coming into effect, which makes perfect sense to me. I think a lot of what I mentioned earlier on.
Pretty much cover it, pretty much what Ben mentioned covers it, apart from maybe a couple of things. So any drones like weigh over 250 grams, which, let's be frank, is light.
Yeah, that's most.
Will
most
now,
drones.
from April, will now have to be registered as a leisure user. I don't like the word leisure, I prefer hobbyist. A leisure user.
Not leisure.
It's flying a drone is not leisurely. It's really not.
It's stressful.
It's very stressful.
And bleak.
And yeah, because you're constantly thinking, oh, what angle do I need to be at and everything like that. Oh, what shutter speed? It's not a leisurely thing to do. On top of that, you're going to have a competency test. So I'm going to assume, again, that's just common sense.
It's a bit like a theory test for driving a car.
Yeah, essentially. How that's going to be implemented, I'm still not 100% sure.
So that's going to be for anyone now who's using a drone over 250 grams.
So starting in April.
Also, airports and certain areas like schools will be geofenced. So that's a bit like I mentioned earlier. Most drones already have that geofencing installed. With schools, it's not implemented at the moment. So again, I'll be intrigued to see how they do with that. Nearby to here We actually have a nuclear power plant, so there's a massive radius around there that we can't fly anywhere near down in Berkeley. So you're not allowed to fly anywhere near that. So you know, just as an example. So, but apparently this is a new one. This is what I'm actually kind of quite happy to see, if I'm honest. Police will now be able to require proof of your registration and possibly your test, your theory test, complacency test, and you may have to forfeit your drone.
I think it's a way. I think the main thing is it's just a way of making people more accountable.
Yes.
Because I think we've seen, so there have been several incidents now. There was one in New York recently where a drone collided with a military helicopter in Manhattan.
Right.
They ended up, luckily when they found the debris, what was left of the drone happened to have the serial number on it. They tracked this guy down. He had a DJI Phantom or something. They found him, and he's gonna suffer the consequences, probably
Rightly so.
probably money wise. But like, imagine if that thing had gotten caught in a rotor the wrong way.
Yeah.
You just don't know. You know, that video came out of a guy in Russia flying a drone to 33,000 feet.
Yeah.
Airplanes, commercial airlines operate between 30 and 40,000 feet. You know what I mean? How we got this thing up there, I don't know, because it didn't look very big. But
it's gonna have to have some incredible motives. But one thing to specify is that what you've also got to be aware of is in every country the laws are different.
Yeah.
So what we've stated here, let's say you went on holiday to Turkey with your drone, they have no air laws for these. So you could do whatever you liked with it.
But still, it's so easy to cause an accident.
Very
easy.
easy.
Yeah, it's just.
So, I think it really comes down to, you can go on our website now and you can buy a DJI Phantom, and we would encourage you to do that as long as you fly safe.
Yeah.
But it is coming down to now what's legal and what's illegal. It's no longer a question of, but I should be able to own this and go out and fly it and create great YouTube videos or whatever it is. It's nobody's stopping you doing that. It's just we want to make sure you're doing it safely, because this is now starting to impact other people's lives. You've also got, like you guys were saying as well, crowds, built up areas, and private property. You need to be respectful of other people. So there is that. I was going to ask you guys, as commercial pilots, which you guys soon will be, everything going well, you'll get your licenses this Saturday, I think.
Weather permitting.
Weather permitting.
Not right now, but yes.
How does this differ from being I don't know if you guys know, I don't actually know, but how does this differ from being a leisure user?
I'm going to call it hobbyist.
Well, I guess as soon as you're all doing it for monetary reasons, I guess, is that roughly what it is? Like, for example, if you monetize your YouTube channel, then you need to be licensed for what we do, which is actually advertising and trying to promote and sell drones. We need to have the licenses that we can use that footage within the video, so that we can.
So that's going to be interesting, because there's going to be a lot of people out there with YouTube channels that aren't going to be able to. If you see them making content, within the UK and they don't have a license, there's going to be an issue there.
You can get the footage from people with licenses, can't you?
You can use it that way, as long as you can prove that the footage was taken and captured in a credible way. You're absolutely fine. There's going to be a lot of people that are on YouTube now thinking, I'm doing this for my own personal thing, I'm putting it on YouTube and stuff like that. But obviously, it's very easy to switch it over to monetization on YouTube without even really noticing. So a lot of people need to be wary of that now.
If you're concerned about drone registration, and you don't know if you were thinking about owning a drone and you don't really want to get involved in this world of registration,
what's that, guys?
Rules and whatever. What is that?
What is that? So, as Matt mentioned earlier, in a way, kind of a little loophole we have to offer for you guys that don't necessarily want to go down that registration route and things like that. So, Rise Tech have released a drone called the Tello. I believe we mentioned it on week 1 off the top of my head. I'm not 100% sure.
But there it is.
Anyway. And the Tello is basically a palm-sized micro drone, but it's incredibly powerful. It's powered by DJI, which is the leading manufacturer of drones. And we've had quite a lot of fun with it. As Matt mentioned earlier, I did actually fly it over his head whilst he was listening to some music.
You've been harassing me with this drone.
Yeah, it's pretty fun. So to give you a very quick spec down of this drone, even though it's the same size as the palm of your hand, it only weighs 80 grams. So you will not have to register you owning this drone to this new database system that they're going to be bringing out, which is fantastic. It flies for 13 minutes. Again, for a drone this size, there was the unique Breeze, which was about 3 times the size and actually flew for less time than this. So a fantastic battery life. It records video at 720p, has a 5 megapixel camera, which is also image stabilized.
Right.
It also has many features like flip. You can do like orbital mode, follow me mode. You can even launch out of your hand and it just flies, and you can even make it land in your hand. It's a fantastic piece of kit for a micro drone. The best part about it is the fact that it's only 99 quid.
Very,
Which I'm pretty sure I've sold one to pretty much everyone in the company so far. It is a phenomenal little drone.
Moving on. What were we going to talk about? Social media for photographers and content creators. Helpful or a hindrance? So Ben brought this to my attention this morning, and we had a good read about it. There's a well-known professional landscape photographer by the name of Dave Morrow who disbanded his social accounts about a year ago. And he had a following to the tune of something like 1.5 million followers, which is quite a lot. And I think to some people, they would say to themselves, "Wow, that's a lot of work and a lot of
to aspire to."
A huge audience to just get rid of all of a sudden." The message, I think he did this about a year ago, and there's a video that he's just put up on YouTube about a day ago explaining his reasoning for doing it.
Right.
The message he ends with is if you're a creative and an artist, shut down your social media accounts and sort of devote more time to your craft. What do you guys feel about social media and
in general?
Just in general, or any I know you've got a particular platform that you're not a huge fan of, but I mean, do you feel like it is helpful to have as a photographer or a creator?
I would say to begin with, it definitely is. And I'm going to also say that's very easy for him to say when he's got 1.5 million users.
Exactly.
If you have absolutely, I think, you need a platform to get your name and word out there, and your like you were saying earlier, your story out there. You need that platform, whether it's YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. It's entirely whatever you're comfortable with. My personal opinion, I think social media is very much necessary at the beginning.
Yeah.
I understand what he says, because I can imagine, we kind of know from working here, social media takes up a lot of time when it comes to producing just a single video. So I can see what he's getting at with, like, okay, don't concentrate on this so much, concentrate on what you're going on about. But I'm sure people would also understand if you took more time to create your content and release it, they would be happy with that, and you would still build the same following.
Yeah.
So, and without spending as much time on social media. So, personally, I think it's needed from the beginning.
I mean, there's no denying it's essential, especially with businesses. You need to be able to get your information out there as fast as possible. Instagram, in particular, we were talking about earlier. I used to love Instagram when I first started on Instagram. I absolutely loved it. I don't know if it does build an audience for you, or if you already have to be a name. It seems to me, on stuff like Instagram, you already have to have a name to be able to make it on there. That just immediately gets them lots of followers. It seems to me that there's so many people on it, and you just get lost in the crowd with it. Nobody seems to actually. I just wonder how many people actually pay attention to what it is you're actually doing on there. The followers thing and everything. It just seems to be numbers that doesn't necessarily seem to represent a whole lot to me.
I mean, I think I can empathize with that, because there's like 700 million users on there now, and hashtags, the way they organize information and stuff, you've got to sift through a lot of it, so you sort of already have to know when you open up the app what you're looking for. And it'll keep putting things in front of your face that you're already a fan of as well, isn't it? I think it's not as easy now to discover new talent on Instagram as it used to be. I think it's they've certainly changed the way things operate on there. It's an interesting kind of thing. I mean, like you were saying, if you had 1.5 million people, that's 1.5 million people that were following you that are already aware of your business. And I think in the end, Dave Morrow it is about him, but I watched the video, and it is very much about his business. And one of the major things that he said in it was, I got rid of these, this social following. We're a year on now. And he said that actually the traffic to his website and his business, the revenue from it doubled in that space of time.
Yep.
But he already had all that
He's done his
exposure.
groundwork.
Yeah.
Well, I can see where he's coming from, because he just wants to concentrate on the work, and I do understand, as you said earlier on, it does take a phenomenal amount of time dedicating yourself to that, and you're trying to do this, but in the back of your head you've got all the Instagram stuff going on. So I do understand why he stopped it. I've completely lost my point. I had a valid point then. I'm really annoyed at that.
It's funny how it just goes sometimes. Anyway, so something that I noticed about this video, though, like when I watching it back, what I saw was he mentioned that he transitioned from using social media to he wrote a long form piece of work that took him 30 hours to write.
Right.
And he put it on his website. And he uses all these phrases in the throughout the video, things like traffic, platform, long form, post rankings. He says Google search index. So it's listening to it, it's not actually, to me, it doesn't strike me as I ditched social media to focus on my craft and and my art, because he's very well aware of how the Google Google SERPs work.
Yeah.
So what he's done is he's actually just transitioned from using short social media posts that have a finite sort of life, and they do require a lot of time to maintain and post, don't they?
Yes, they do.
And it takes a lot of he says that he hears people in his head and things like that. He doesn't hear voices. He's not schizophrenic.
Yeah.
But he's constantly got this static in his head, worrying about, do I need to post this? Do I need to respond to that kind of thing. The man's very aware that as a landscape photographer, though it seems that he's out shooting beautiful photos and that is his art and his craft, that he's also got a business to run while he's out there. I mean, you have to have some form of income if you want to be living out of your van 9 months out of the year. You know what I mean? And hiking up beautiful mountains. So, judging by his language, he's clearly aware of how search engine optimization works.
Yep.
And so what he's really done is he's just taken the time that he was using for social media, and he's now dedicating it to writing these long form, what we call white papers in marketing. And I was saying to you the other day, these long form papers, you can charge copywriters to write these papers. They're $5,000 a paper to write, like a good copywriter. I mean, they usually end with some sort of a call to action or whatever, and it's essentially to support his business. So, he may have traded out the social media, but what he's now got to do in order to keep boosting traffic, getting that traffic to his website and stuff, is he's hitting different keywords. He's just doing things in a different way.
Yeah.
Right.
It's the same principle, different platform.
Yeah. And, I think the major message that I think he gets at the end of it is it's a more rewarding way. It's just a more reward. I mean, he's still manipulating, search engines, and he's still building his business, but it's just a more rewarding way for him to give people information. And I think people probably get a lot more value out of long form sort of papers than they do just Instagram, and Facebook posts and stuff as well.
Yeah.
So it's less draining on him, and I guess it provides people with more value in the end, anyways.
Yeah.
So I think it's still got its place. I also agree with Ben. I think Instagram, stuff like that, it's getting really hard to sift through the proverbial BS, if you will, on a lot of social platforms and really find the value.
Yeah.
So I feel like I went on a bit of a tangent there. Andy, so we got something coming up with Canon.
Mm-hmm.
Tell us what it is and why it is.
Okay, so what it is the Canon Roadshow. Essentially, Canon go around multiple different retailers throughout the year, and they hold different kind of talks. Ours is on the 27th of April, and we're going to be joined by the fabulous Simeon Quarry, who we mentioned last week. Fantastic creator of video and stills.
Great guy.
Brilliant photographer and videographer. He will be talking through how he can create some of his phenomenal pictures and footage using the Canon full frame systems, so like the 1DX Mark II, the 5D4 for example, but he's also going to touch on how you can create the same aspects of quality using a new mirrorless range.
Nice.
So it'd be definitely worth looking into that if you were thinking of going on over to the Canon mirrorless, or if you just want to spend a nice day out. And speaking to Simeon, in the afternoon of the same day there will be a workshop, which quite frankly any workshop with Simeon Quarry is going to be amazing. The only thing is you do have to register for this event, so the link is in the description below. Please click on that, just register up. It's completely free. If you can't make it on the day, don't worry. But also, just as a little bit of a enticement, there is going to be specific offers just for the people coming to this show on the day. I can't tell you what, but there are some really, really good offers to look out for. So yeah, it's definitely worth a look at. If you want more information, just click again on the link in the description below and it's all there.
Cool.
Juicy. Cool. Canon Roadshow, Andy, can you just lead us out with our weekly promotion?
Yes, so I actually have 4 for you this week. So the first one is that there's been a price drop on the Canon entry-level camera, the 1300D. £30 off that camera, no instant discount code, it's just literally a price drop on that one. Nikon W100, so if you're looking for a little family holiday camera, something for the kids to use, there at the moment you get a free 16GB Samsung SD card with that one.
Cool.
Olympus have got a bit of a decent but weird mixture promotion going on here. So they've got a £50 instant discount on the EM10 Mark III, which is, you know, a fabulous camera. You mentioned it last week as one of your favourites.
I like it.
Yep.
But it also applies to the TG5, so that's why I say it's a bit weird. Usually they just keep it to one camera, but the TG5 action, almost indestructible camera.
Yeah, it's pretty
and
rough.
That's not a challenge, by the way. So there's £50 instant discount on that. But if you're part of our mailing list, you're going to see in there that there's going to be a clearance section. So if you're not part of our mailing list, make sure to go on to cliftoncameras.co.uk. You'll just see at the bottom there's just a mailing subscription. Just whack your email address in there and you can see all of our promotions for this weekend.
Cool.
Cool beans. I think that about wraps it up for this week. We were a bit thin on news, but it turns out we were a bit thick on discussion. Next week... I like it.
That's very
I like that. That's good.
Next week, we're getting something special in on the Monday that I've personally been looking forward to trying. And I think anybody who wants to get into content creation and video production might be interested.
Especially
Vlogging, yeah. So yeah, look out for the EOS M50 video, and we will see you next Friday.
No, we won't. Yeah, we will.
We won't?
Thursday,
because it's a bank holiday. Right, okay, well we'll see you before the bank holiday. Again, as always, if you like the content and you'd like to see us next week, please hit the like button and give us a subscribe.
Awesome.
Bye.
See you later.
I guess it could still go on the Friday.
It could still go on the Friday.
Yeah, I suppose it could. Whatever. It's just, you're just under more pressure now to make a video for Thursday.
The thing is though, actually no, well it could go on Friday, but it would need to be recorded.